Welcome to Learn at Home program. My name is Ngolar Titus Ngofan, Social Studies teacher. The topic today covers for Js 1 to 3. Sit tight and get the essence of the lesson. Today we are going to consider the topic drug abuse. When we talk of drug abuse, what comes to your mind? When you are sick, what do you need? You need a drug so that you will get well. And where do you get drugs? Legally, you go to the hospital, meet qualified medical personnel, and they get the drugs that will handle your challenge. And that's how to handle drugs, that is orthodox drugs. So it's good for us to understand and know what drugs are and how drugs are supposed to be used, and when drugs are abused, what is the implication of that to man. That takes us to the meaning of drug. A drug is any substance that can affect one's health or behavior when taken. When you take drugs, it will affect your physical body, it will affect also your behavior. If drugs are not properly used, they are abused. If you don't use drugs well, it is said that the drug is being abused. We have what you call the illicit and the licit drugs. The illicit drugs are those drugs that are legally allowed by law to be taken, so that when you are sick, you take the drug to get you well. Illicit drugs are those drugs that are not legally approved by government. So once you take those drugs are said to be bad drugs. They can be abused, which can lead to health complications that can kill someone. So it is very dangerous if you take illicit drugs. So we are going to see some examples of some of these drugs that can be abused in the course of our lesson. Drug abuse, therefore, is taking of drugs without the prescription of a qualified medical personnel. If you are sick or you have headache and you go ahead to take paracetamol, you are abusing the drug. If you have a stomach problem and then you go take any stomach problem drug that you know, it is an abuse because you don't know the cause of the problem. It is important to see a medical doctor or a qualified medical personnel to be able to prescribe the right drug to take. So it is also the taking of illegal substances like heroin, cocaine, other hard drugs that can cause danger to the body. Today we can see even young people going as far as taking some terrible things like solutions that you use in mending tubes. Some will take some leaves and then grind and smoke it. Some goes to the toilet to that extent and then sniff the toilet and then they feel high. It's dangerous. These are some of the things that are dangerous, and when you get addicted to it, it can lead to death. We have some examples of common drugs that are being abused. There are some common drugs that are being abused. Like what I said before, paracetamol is a common drug that you can find anywhere. When you have mild headaches, people rush to take paracetamol. It is not good. It is an abuse. Once we keep taking it like that without the prescription of a qualified medical doctor, it has health implications on your body. Vitamin C, and sometimes we feel, oh, there's nothing wrong in taking vitamin C, but it can be abused. Some people will take vitamin C sometimes in between times, very short periods of time. You are abusing the drug. Valium. Valium is a drug that people take to sleep when they are stressed up. It's very dangerous. Well, by the time you get used to it and your body is used to taking that kind of a drug, you can't be able to sleep without taking that drug. And it will be affecting your body draining your body gradually, and it will really affect you. Even cough syrups. Cough syrups can be abused. It's a common drug. We have hard drugs that can be abused. And they are all over in our society today. And these hard drugs are very dangerous. We have examples like cannabis, we have heroin, we have cocaine, we have cigarette, we have other intoxicants like alcohol. Alcohol is a drug. Well, if you take large quantity of alcohol, you need only a little quantity, and it can be found in the food we eat. Like in the carbohydrate, every carbohydrate food, like rice, it has a little quantity of alcohol. So you don't even need it, and it's dangerous. Coffee. And then some take solutions like what I said for mending tubes. All these are what? Hard drugs. And you see young people that are into sporting activities, they go into taking this kind of drugs so that they will perform well. Sometimes they go take these drugs when they go to farm, or they are working on the site. You want to mold maybe 200 blocks or 500 in a day. Instead of using the strength that you have, the energy you have, you will go take drugs, and then you will work and work and work. By the time you get home, you are so tired because the influence of the drugs has affected you. What do you do? You know, what do you think we are to do? You know, look at as the causes of drug abuse. What are the causes? What do you think are the causes of drug abuse? Let's look at the causes of drug abuse. Peer group influence is one. Peer group influence is one. We have curiosity, and drug availability is two. We also have lack of parental care. And then I want to look at these ones one after the other in brief. When we talk of peer group influence, your peers, maybe you come across your peer that takes drugs, and he would want you to just try it. You don't smoke cigarette, and he just gives you one that you should try, and you try one. By the time you try 2, 3, you become a chain smoker. So it is dangerous. Peer groups, they introduce each other. That's why peers can influence positively or negatively. So you have to be very careful of the peer you go around with. Curiosity and drug availability. Young people are curious. They want to test. Oh, this is how cocaine looks like. I want to take a little and see how it feels. And let me see how it looks like. And because of that curiosity, they go into it. And before you know it, they become addicted. I know of a young man who was studying law, and then he went into this drug problem. He ended up being a dropout. He became a problem to the family, to the parents. In fact, as I'm talking now, it's late. And what killed him? It is drugs. I have seen so many young people that have dropped out of school because of the influence of drugs. So we have to be very careful. The drugs are available, yes. When you move out there, you will find them out there. So you have to make a decision and say no to drugs, to bad drugs. And that will help you. Lack of parental care. Sometimes parents don't have time for the children. They keep moving, looking for money. And the money is not really helping the children. Broken home. The father is living separate, the wife is living separate. The problem of divorce or separation. Parents being too busy. Single parenthood, yes, it also affects. And then ignorance is one of the causes. When you are ignorant of the danger of these drugs, they go into it. Many take cocaine because they don't know the danger. When you are taking paracetamol over and over, you are ignorant of what it will cause with time. Self-medication, it is so common amongst everyone. Almost every family is guilty of that. You are sick because the medical doctor prescribed this particular drug, and then that same problem happens to you. and you just go straight to the chemist or pharmacy and then buy the drug. That is self-medication. You try to buy the drug yourself and take it thinking that it's going to help you. It's not good. The mass media, the good aspect of the mass media is there. You can learn good things from the mass media. The mass media educates, the mass media informs, the mass media entertains. But if you watch where they are, promoting all these kind of drugs, bad drugs, you can get influenced and go into it. And so many ways of abusing drugs. You take drugs, sometimes you ingest them, sometimes you drink them, sometimes you inject them into the body, and then it has a lot of negative repercussions on the body. Now, what do you think are the effects of drug abuse? We have some effects here. Exposure to dangerous health and behavioral conditions, e.g. like HIV and AIDS. So many that have gone into drugs will go into sexual promiscuity that will cause them to get contracted with HIV virus or other sexually transmitted infectious diseases. Liver problems, brain damage, madness. So many young people have mad outside there. You see them walking without clothes. They are passing through difficult times. Why? Because of drugs. Kidney problems. I've seen so many young people that have died because of kidney failure. And what leads to kidney failure? It is taking of hard drugs, cocaine, heroin, and so many other drugs like that. Premature aging. When you see someone who takes these bad drugs, the young person that is just 15 years, he looks like 40 years. He looks like 50 years. He looks old, older than even his father. Sometimes it is very, very important to know that the effect of these drugs is so pronounced, and we have to work towards and avoiding it. Loss of pregnancy or deficient delivery of babies. Yes, young ladies that take these bad drugs, when they get pregnant, in the family and want to give birth, they may lose the pregnancy. They may lose pregnancy, or they may have deficiency. They may give birth to the child prematurely, and it's not really helping the family. Marital problems. When you take drugs, they are always fighting each other in the home. They are always having challenges in the home. In fact, you won't be able to keep any money. Financial difficulties. The little money you have, you keep going to look for these bad drugs. And when the drugs is not there, they can go out of their way to borrow, even to steal, and then get these drugs. That is the danger. Job loss. Yes, there are so many that have lost their jobs because they've involved themselves in all these drugs and they can't cope again. Increase in crimes. Drug addicts, mostly they are criminals. They go about rape, and they are armed robbers. They rob and they join cultism. Cultism is one of the common social problems that we have, that in the course of this lesson we will come to discuss cultism and what it entails and the danger. And you're going to understand, but what we are trying to point out here is that most of those that go into cultism, they are drug addicts. They smoke this, they introduce each other. Young people there introduce one another to all these kind of bad drugs. It is important to identify some other negative effects of drug abuse. We talked about isolation and withdrawal. We have seen so many young people today that have committed suicide because they are into drugs, and when their parents and the society looks down on them, they begin to withdraw themselves. When they withdraw themselves from the family, withdraw themselves from the society, withdraw themselves from their peers, they are always in isolation. They will lock themselves inside, and if care is not taken, they may decide to commit suicide and die. Truancy and failure in school. Yes, so many young people have play truancy in school. You come to school. I have seen students, even in secondary schools where some of us teach, you see students will come and buy these drugs and put it in drinks, like Lacasera, like in Coke and whatever. You will think they are taking minerals, but they are taking drugs. And when they don't take these things, in fact, if you watch carefully, sometimes we identify them. Sometimes when they feel like taking these drugs, you see them, they will run, they will say they want to go and ease themselves, and they are going to take these drugs. It is very dangerous. Sometimes they don't attend classes. They abscond themselves from classes, absenteeism in classes, which will lead to what? To failure and then drop out. Risk of accidents is another effect. Yes, some of them that take these drugs while driving on the road, they can be very reckless, they can kill themselves and then kill innocent people. Denial of international travels. Yes, for those that have the privilege to go and study outside, or you have the privilege to go and do one business, they have caught so many in the airports with bad drugs. And they turn them back. At the end of the day, they end up in the prison. In fact, this thing is very, very dangerous, and young people have to know that the effect of drug abuse is enormous. What do you think are some of the solutions? The solutions: parents should perform their roles as necessary in the family, educate and teach, and then counsel them. Counseling centers should be established so that they will be able to teach young people. Design curriculum on drug, just like what we are doing now. Curriculum should be developed so that we teach students. The National Drug Law Enforcement Agency should bring out campaigns against drug abuse. Embarked on education, enlightenment, and advocacy against drug abuse. Dangers of drug abuse should be regularly discussed in our schools and communities. Availability of illicit drugs should be reduced, if not eradicated. Now, in evaluation, before we round up, what is drug abuse? Get your exercise book, write this, and ensure that in our next lesson we shall review. What is drug abuse? List 3 drugs that are commonly abused, and then state 4 examples of hard drugs that you know. Enumerate 5 causes of drug abuse. You have home tax that you are supposed to do. What can you do as an individual to avoid drug abuse? What can you do as an individual to avoid drug abuse? Thank you for listening. I remain Golar Titus Gofan, your social studies teacher. See you next time, same station. Stay safe. Thank you very much. Goodbye.